To welcome all of you to our law school. We are honored to host again the Justice Prize of the Peter and Patricia Gruber Foundation. 2 years ago, we had the pleasure of hosting the ceremony when the Gruber Justice Prize was bestowed on one of our colleagues, Tom Bergenfeld, who's there in the front row, who was then a member of the International Court of Justice. He's returned now to our faculty, and also Jeremy Shastak, the former president of the American Bar Association. Today's ceremony recognizes two individuals and one institution that have championed justice through their words and their deeds. Their work has reshaped the law at the institutional level and has had a profound and lasting effect on many individuals. We're honored to have with us the distinguished recipients of the 2010 Gruber Justice Prize, Justice Michael Kirby, retired of the High Court of Australia, Professor John Dugard of the University of Pretoria and formerly of Leiden University, and also the Indian Law Resources Center. We're humbled by your presence and your lifelong commitment to improving mankind in the face of adversity and criticism. We're also delighted that Justice Arthur Chaskalson, of the former Chief Justice of South Africa and former President of South Africa's Constitutional Court, can be here. And of course, we're grateful to the Peter and Patricia Gruber Foundation for its support of the Justice Prize, as well as for its support of many other activities that have helped institutions and individuals better understand and apply legal principles and promote reasoned justice. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Patricia Gruber, who will award the prize to the 2010 recipients.
Thank you, Dean Maggs. Welcome to the presentation of the 10th Annual Gruber Justice Prize. The Justice Prize honors individuals who have advanced the cause of justice as delivered through the legal system. We are delighted to return to George Washington University School of Law, an institution that is committed to engaging the world from this nation's capital, and a most fitting place to present this year's prize. We're here to honor three recipients: Michael Kirby, John Dugard, and the Indian Law Resource Center, for safeguarding human rights and helping make equal justice under law a reality for groups that historically have been victims of systemic discrimination. Please let me tell you a little about the company they are keeping. The Foundation's prize program, established in 2000, now presents 5 annual $500,000 prizes in the fields of cosmology, genetics, neuroscience, justice, and women's rights. Each prize recognizes achievements and discoveries that produce fundamental shifts in human knowledge and culture. On September 21st, the Women's Rights Prize was presented to the Center for Reproductive Rights and CLADEM at the New York University School of Law. This Friday at the University of Chicago, the Cosmology Prize will be presented to Charles Steidel. In November, the Genetics Prize will be presented to Gerald Fink at the 60th Annual Meeting of the American Society of Human Genetics, again in Washington, D.C. And later in November, the Neuroscience Prize will be presented at the 41st Annual Meeting of the Society for Neuroscience in San Diego to Robert Wirtz. I'd like to acknowledge the vision and leadership of my dear husband, Peter Gruber, who cannot be with us today, in establishing these prizes. Although we've worked together since inception, it is Peter who earned the money and who had the vision for this prize program. The Justice Prize is especially dear to Peter's heart because, as many of you know, being Jewish, his family escaped Hungary during World War II and fled to India. Soon after their arrival, Calcutta was bombed by the Japanese. His parents, again fearing for the children's safety, sent Peter and his brothers to the Himalayas for their education. With regard to this prize, Peter's words were that he wanted to establish a prize for justice as a means of redressing the arbitrary use of power. As this came directly from his own personal experiences, he is especially appreciative of each of today's individuals' efforts to uphold these values. Sadly, due to his health, he's not able to be with us today, but he wanted me to convey his most sincere congratulations to all three of you. And now back to the previous laureates of the Justice Prize. They include Brian Stevenson and the European Roma Rights Center, Thomas Bergenthal, who is here with us today, and Jerome Shestak, Carmen Argibay, Carlos Cerda, and Monica Feria, Aharon Barak, Param Kumaraswamy, Arthur Chaskalson and Pius Langa, Rosalie Silberman Abella and Bertha Wilson, Fali Sam Nariman. And the initial prize went to Anthony Roy Gabe and the Law Society of Zimbabwe. This year's recipients were chosen by a distinguished advisory board comprising Carmen Maria Argibay, Arthur Chaskalson, Param Kumaraswamy, Bernice Donald, Robert Cushion, and Ramon Mullarat. Peter and I deeply appreciate the knowledge, the commitment, and the enthusiasm that these advisors bring to the judging process. We would like to thank the George Washington University School of Law for hosting the Gruber Justice Prize this year. Dean Lawrence graciously agreed to host us, and Dean Maggs agreed to welcome us. And the GWU law staff went to great lengths to make this event a success. I would now like to present Ramon Mullarat, here from Barcelona, Spain, where he is a practicing lawyer. Mr. Mullarat is a former president of the Council of the Bars and Law Societies of the European Union and was co-chair of the Human Rights Institute of the International Bar Association. He is an advisor to the Justice Prize. He will read the prize citation and briefly present Michael Kirby. Ramon Mullarat.
The 2010 Justice Prize of the Peter and Patricia Gruber Foundation is proudly presented to Michael Kirby, John Dugard, and the Indian Law Resource Center for contributions to international law and the advancement of human rights and rule of law. Michael Kirby has defended victims of unjust regimes and promoted the cause of international human rights, including in particular law relating to privacy, data security, bioethics, and HIV/AIDS. Active in law reform at home and abroad, his work has had an impact on the legal culture of many countries. John Dugard, respected worldwide for his courage and scholarship, has championed the development of international human rights law. Having challenged the injustice of apartheid law from within South Africa, he participated in the constitutional negotiations leading to the adoption of their human rights-based constitution. For over 30 years, the Indian Law Resource Center has exposed human rights violations against indigenous peoples in the Americas, using international law to assert their claims. The Center was a leading participant in the adoption of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. And now it is a great honor and pleasure to introduce Justice Kirby. The Italian jurist Piero Calamandrei, in his delicious Elogio di giudici scritto da un avvocato, said, fra tutte le professioni che i mortali possono esercitare, nessun'altra possa meglio giovare a mantenere la pace tra gli uomini di quella dei giudici, che sappia essere puro dispensatore di quel lenimento d'ogni ferita che si chiama giustizia. Among all the professions that mortals can exercise, no other can best assist to keeping the peace among men than that of the judge, who knows to be a pure provider of the liniment of all injury, which is called justice. Michael Kirby was born in Sydney and educated in 4th Street Boys High School. He holds the degrees of BA, LLM Beck from Sydney University. Justice Kirby practiced as a solicitor and then as a barrister before his appointment in 1974 as a Deputy President of the Australian Conciliation and Arbitration Commission. He served as the inaugural Chairman of the Australian Law Reform Commission. In 1983, he took up appointment as a Judge of the Federal Court of Australia. He relinquished that post in 1984 on his appointment as President of the New South Wales Court of Appeal. In 1995, he was appointed to the post of President of the Court of Appeal of Solomon Islands. He resigned these positions when he was appointed in 1996 as one of the 7 justices of the High Court of Australia, Australia's Federal Supreme Court. Justice Kirby has had a long connection with universities. At Sydney University, he was elected President of the Students' Representative Council and of the Sydney University Union. He served as Fellow of the Senate of Sydney University and as Deputy Chancellor of the University of Newcastle. In 1984, he was elected as Chancellor of Macquarie University in Sydney. He served on the Administrative Review Council of Australia, on the Australian Council of Multicultural Affairs, and on the executive of the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organization. In 1978, Michael Kirby commenced involvement in international activities. Between 1995 and 2005, he served on the International Bioethics Committee of UNESCO, chairing the group that prepared the Universal Declaration on Bioethics and Human Rights, which was adopted by the General Conference of UNESCO. He also served on the Ethics Committee of the Human Genome Organization and as a member of the inaugural Global Commission on AIDS of the World Health Organization. In 2002, he chaired an expert group convened by UNAIDS and the High Commissioner for Human Rights on HIV/AIDS and human rights. In 2001 and 2002, he was chairperson of the UNAIDS expert panel on HIV testing of United Nations peacekeeping operations. Since 2004, he was member of the UNAIDS Global Reference Panel on HIV/AIDS and Human Rights. Michael Kirby was a member of the Executive Committee of the International Commission of Jurists, rising to be chairman and later president of the ICJ. He was appointed by the International Labour Organization as a member of the Commission on Freedom of Association. Between 1993 and 1996, he served as a special representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations for Human Rights in Cambodia and as independent chairman of the Constitutional Conference of Malawi. In addition to these activities, Justice Kirby has served in educational institutions such as the International Advisory Group on Advocacy Training of the Inns of Court School of Law in London, the Board of Governors of the Kinsey Institute with Indiana University, and the Advisory Board of the International Human Rights Institute of DePaul University in Chicago. Currently, he is rapporteur of the International Group on Judicial Integrity, which prepared guidelines on judicial integrity endorsed in 2006 by ECOSOC and now under the aegis of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. Justice Kirby has received a number of honors. These include the appointment as Companion of the Order of Michael and St. George, and as a Companion of the Order of Australia, and he has received the honorary degree of Doctor of Letters from the University of Newcastle, the University of Ulster, and James Cook University. The honorary degree of Doctor of Laws from Macquarie University, the University of Sydney, the National Law School University of India, Buckingham University, and the Australian National University. He was also awarded the honorary degree of Doctor by the University of South Australia and the Australian Human Rights Medal. In 1998, he was named laureate of the UNESCO Prize for Human Rights Education. In 2005, the Sydney Morning Herald named him as one of Australia's top 10 public intellectuals. And in 2006, the Bulletin named him as one of the 100 most influential Australians ever. He has been elected as honorary member of the American Law Institute and as an honorary bencher of the Inner Temple in London. He was awarded the Prix Yves Pélissier of the International Academy of Law and Mental Health and the Lifetime Achievement Award of the Australian Law Awards. A great American justice, Oliver Wendell Holmes, said once that, I quote, "The life of the law has not been logic, it has been experience." If this is true, Michael Kirby, in his outstanding legal and justice pilgrimage, has exceptionally contributed to the expansion of law. One aspect stands out of Michael Kirby's multifaceted nature, and it is his humanity and his preoccupation for human rights in the defense of the millions of people suffering in this world. Kirby said once that, I quote, "To be human is to feel the pain of brothers and sisters everywhere. Feeling that pain, we must each do whatever we can to build a better world." Human rights is the political slogan of our time, but paradoxically, the gap between glossy declarations and the reality is enormous. René Cassin, one of the drafters of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, said, "Il n'y aura pas de paix sur cette planète tant que les droits de l'homme seront violés en quelque partie du monde que ce soit." We lawyers have a special obligation in this battle. Another justice, an American Justice William Brennan, referred to, I quote, "the higher calling of the law," meaning the special obligation of lawyers to become involved in the overriding concerns of society. We lawyers, we are 6 million in the world. All of us one day, in different places and languages, we swore to fight for the rule of law and for justice. If this team could act in concert, there would be little that we could not achieve. We could honor our oath and could make this world a little better place. As Antonio Machado, the Spanish poet, said, "Se hace camino al andar." The way is made by walking. Justice Kirby has walked a long way. Thank you very much.